Did you know you can sponsor your favorite podcast on the Spin Market Podcast Network? Hi, everybody. I'm Peter Stockdale, host of the Spin Market Report. In the past year, our podcasts have had over 20,000 total streams, and our YouTube channels have had over 1 million views. Whether you're promoting a product, service, or event, we'll help you reach the audience that matters. Get more information on how to sponsor a podcast at spinmarketwith2ks.com. Spin Market. Your business, your message, our platform.
It's the Spin Market Report. Here's your host, Peter Stockdale.
Oh, yeah, we are back. It's Marketing Monday. It's always Marketing Monday.
Marketing Monday.
It's Monday. You know, I don't know. It's the best part of the week. You come into work and you're just like, what do I got to do this week? Well, you got to do some marketing and let's get it done.
And marketing's fun.
Honestly.
You know, what a way to start out the week.
Well, I mean, that's why I'm doing it,
Yes.
because I enjoy it. So today we're sitting down with Matt Price. Matt Price, you are the fire chief at the Fort Dodge Fire Department. And you are actually one of the 10 under 40. We've had one other person on before this, I believe.
Shannon.
Yeah. We're going to do a few more, I think. Yes. I know we're pre-recording for the holidays, so I don't know exactly what the orders of all these are going to be, but yeah, 10 under 40, you're one of the recipients. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes. Big honor.
Yeah. We'll get into that in a second. What inspired you to become a firefighter? Because I'm sure you didn't just start out being the chief.
No.
Okay.
I don't know if that was always even initially on my radar. So growing up, my dad was a volunteer firefighter. So I watched him my whole life going to calls and stuff. Ended up in the front seat of the truck sometimes, you know, and here and there. And so that really started the spark for me. My grandpa was also the fire chief before him. So my family had just been involved in my hometown for so long that that kind of sparked my interest. And just watching those guys, like anywhere we went in town, everybody knew who they were. So it was something that just lit the fire with me. And also, as I got older, it was just kind of an adrenaline junkie thing. Yeah. You know, it was a lot of fun. So I started... Actually, I was still a senior in high school when I started in my hometown as a volunteer, and it's just kind of blossomed from there, I guess. Even in the beginning, I don't know that I intended to be like a career firefighter. It was just something that we did, and then it kind of worked itself out.
The firefighter thing's so interesting. I just want to just crumple this up and throw it out and ask a million questions about it, because I feel like it's changed over time, right?
I have one question.
Go for it.
Are you the youngest ever fire chief?
Probably for Fort Dodge, I would assume. I'm the youngest career chief in the state that I know of as well. So I'm kind of used to that. I guess I've always just been the youngest one wherever I go. I mean, but a lot of the groups that I belong to and the other chiefs and stuff, I've come up with a lot of them too. And they've been, whether they were ahead of me and stuff, either way, I've kind of gotten to know everyone so long, and either that or they probably know my dad. So then it's kind of been one of those things of like, you know, he's always here, so, you know, we're used to him, whether he's too young to be here or not.
So how did you get to Fort Dodge, I guess? Like, I mean, you've been on Talk Fort Dodge before. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but like, Sure. Can you broad stroke how you ended up here in Fort Dodge being the chief?
Accidentally. So before this, I was a captain, shift commander for Johnston Grimes. So that's kind of the city that I had grown up in. I went to DCG. I grew up in Dallas Center. So I just had stuck around there for so long. Didn't really plan on leaving necessarily. And through some friends of friends and different like brothers and sisters and stuff, we kind of got to know some people. My wife is from here.
Oh, cool.
So one of her high school friends, her brother is on the fire department, and we would talk about stuff like at family gatherings and stuff and get-togethers and kids' birthdays and stuff. And that kind of led to us having a little bit of a relationship back and forth. And then I think it was probably 4 years ago or so, they decided they were going to have an assistant chief here. I think that was at the time when Steve was looking at retiring, and like they needed to do some succession planning and that sort of thing. And they had the ambulance was fairly new at that time too. So they needed some help and doing that sort of thing. So they brought that position back. Through that, I started kind of getting a little bit of recruiting, and then I started asking questions back and forth because I think at the time it was like, oh, this could be a thing. And through over some time I met Steve, I came up here and did a station visit. We had started talking and asking, probably me asking more questions than anything at the end. And then Halloween of 2022, I started here as assistant chief. And then for the last 2.5 years before that, I worked under Steve doing assistant chief stuff. So I helped do all the things that we do every day. And he retired in February, and in March I became the chief. Nice. So that's kind of
succession planning in the fire department.
Yep.
I mean, it's necessary. They can't just the chief can't just go away and they just bring in somebody from out of town and be like,
it happens.
Oh, really?
Oh, it happens. Yeah. And a lot of times too, I've seen places too where the chief will retire and then they're like, oh, we should have an interim chief. And then they just figure it out then too. Oof. So there's a lot of clunkiness to that part. So we were lucky to have what we had happen. Even if it wasn't me in the reciprocating seat, that was well architected.
That's good.
Yeah.
Shout out to Fort Dodge for that one. I mean, this is fun because it's kind of like a family affair all the way till you got here almost, to some extent. You're one of the 10 under 40, so you haven't even been doing this 20 years because you're under 40, right? Nope. So, but how has firefighting changed? This is something that when I was going to school, I'm just barely under 40. So, about 20 years ago when I was in school, some of my friends were volunteer firefighters and a couple of them ended up doing it, semi-career-ish and it's just changed so much. Can you elaborate how it's changed even in the time that you've been a firefighter?
What I've seen is both. There's been a lot of growth in the profession. I think when I first tested it was just Grimes at the time. I think there was over 150 people in there to take for a couple spots. Nowadays, that's not the case. We struggle to get 10 or 15 people to apply for a job. So things have changed over time of how we get people in the recruitment process. EMS has become a big part of the fire department now, where it was back then too. It's just, I think the service has just people call 911 more and more and more. So the demand for the EMS stuff has gone up. And we're seeing too, especially for this city, we spend a lot of time, or we focus on, we're also the hazmat team for 9 counties. And we do a lot of technical rescue type stuff, the rope stuff, the water rescue, the river rescue, ice rescue, all that, confined space, trench, stuff like that. So those sorts of things, well, they existed back then. I think there's just more and more of weight being put on the fire departments to do more stuff, I guess is what I would say. It's not the fire departments of 50 years ago where you just put out fires and that's it.
Yeah.
Well, we just got done doing the CTE videos. I shout out to both Peter and McKinsey. They did a great job shooting all that. But I know you guys are very integral with that, and it goes into with the idea of trying to educate students ahead of time to come into that profession.
Yeah, we've been lucky. We've got through the high school, we've gotten into the high school and started out. Shout out to Kylie. We've gotten an EMT program in the high school,
yes.
And even intro to healthcare stuff. So we're just letting the students kind of figure out, is this something that they like? They come spend time at the fire station. We go to them and we grade their report writing skills and stuff like that. So we've tried to really reach out into the younger folks too, to bring them along. Anything we can do to get somebody spark an interest in this. I think a lot of people, once they see what it is, they're interested. It's just they don't even know that it's a thing that they can do.
Well, it was amazing watching the students.
Yeah.
What they were learning and how they were teaching the younger students, it was top notch. And I don't think enough people know about that program at the Fort Dodge school system. So really want to make sure everybody knows.
And we partner with Iowa Central as well to
yes.
try to help, with anything we can. They do all the EMT and paramedic stuff in the county generally. So that's where we send all of our students for things. So we worked hard to foster that with both of those institutions to try to get as many people in as we can.
So having the fire department change over time, you're not just putting out fires. You're EMS. You're doing all those, critical responses to hazmat and things like that. You're doing the confined space drills and all that. What does a typical day look like for you guys then? Or is there such a thing as a typical day? I know as the day this comes out recently, there have been a couple fires in Fort Dodge that were, pretty big fires, honestly. So
it just depends on the day. We have a daily schedule that we use. Whether that gets followed exactly depends on a lot of things. We run about 15 calls a day. So that's always there to mess things up, I guess, in a way, when you think about it.
15 a day, though?
Wow. It's pretty busy. A lot of it's EMS, which is what you would expect probably. But and a typical EMS call takes about an hour, the way we run them. So that's one ambulance, a couple people out of service. So we keep about 10 to 12 people in the station all the time. So that's how we break them down, I guess. We staff, like I call it a half an ambulance, but we staff one 12-hour ambulance and 2 fire ambulances that are 24/7. So their dedicated job for the day is EMS. So they try, between the 3 of them, they try to keep up with the demand. Sometimes we don't. We have to take people off the fire trucks to be able to cover it, but that's what their main job. But usually in a day, shift changes at 7 o'clock. So the typical shift guy or gal is going to come in a little bit before 7. You get your gear out, you get on the rig that you're working on the day. Make sure that you've talked to the person you're relieving, so that if there's something wrong with whatever your air pack or something like that, what's going on. At 7 o'clock, they'll do a shift meeting at the kitchen table. Everybody gets a cup of coffee and sits down, and this is what we're going to do for the day. After that is I'll call it their preparation time, but that's when we check trucks in. We do all this station cleaning. We do all the, this needs fixed or moved or adjusted or whatever, that sorts of stuff. So a lot of times I think if people are driving by in the morning, you see all the trucks pulled out and everything's going, there's a lot of hustle and bustle going on. That's what they're doing, is they're making sure everything's set for the day. About 9 o'clock, 9:30, that's when we start the group workout time. So if you've ever driven by about, a little bit before lunch, there's people running around and stuff going on in the parking lot. Maybe they're doing laps and stuff. They do physical fitness in the morning before lunch when they can, or as they work through things. And then after lunch, we spend basically the entire afternoon doing training of some variety. So like we said, we've got so many different disciplines that we have to be up on. And a lot of them require us to have so many hours a year, continuing education and stuff like that. So they spend most of the afternoon just keeping up with all of those things. And then after that time, they usually do a group supper. So that's what the time they have a meal together. And then after that, it's kind of off on your own for the evening, and wrap up whatever projects you need to do, and then get ready for the overnight. Typically, I can't remember the last time we haven't had calls overnight. So usually whoever's the first out ambulance for the night, they need to go get ready because they're probably going to be awake. So that's their time to kind of rest and relax for a little while. And that's kind of what the day is structured as. There's a lot of things built in there, though, because obviously you're going to have calls, and it adjusts everything from there.
That's really cool, though. You got a whole team building thing going on. I mean, we discussed it earlier. It's not just guys sitting around a pot of chili and then an alarm goes off and they fight a fire. You're working out together, you're training together, then you're going on all the calls. In between all of this stuff, you're having a meal with the whole team. That's really kind of cool. Do you think that helps with the cohesiveness?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think for a lot of people, you come in from the outside, and if you were to ride along for the day or something, you'd think it was absolute chaos, how you keep track of all this stuff. Cause I think there's something to be said for our shift commanders that can keep all the little pieces together of who's where and doing what and all that stuff. Cause it gets confusing after a certain amount of time. The calls go off and you wonder, have to remember who's where and doing what and on what rig and that sort of stuff. On top of, you might have a guest speaker in for the day, and you've got to keep them taken care of and all that sort of thing. So it really does lend to the brotherhood, sisterhood that we talk about from our perspective, is you got to take care of each other, because you may not be able to see something coming, or I might have to leave in the middle of my supper, but they'll keep my food warm when I come back, and that sort of stuff. They try to work together as best they can.
That's awesome. How about some of the biggest challenges? What are some of the biggest challenges, maybe just locally here with the fire station, that you guys are facing or have faced?
Well, staffing has been a thing for us for quite some time. We're starting to work towards fixing that, but it's just a funding thing. With the state, we've seen them starting to work back on city general fund budgets, essentially, where they're cutting back and capping growth, essentially. So the city doesn't have a bunch of extra money laying around to be like, oh, you guys need some extra firefighters. Here you go. Good luck. So we're trying to make do with what we have, or work on other revenue sources. We could talk about the EMS thing at some point, but that's been a big shot in the arm for us, or will be. So keeping staffing correct is always like my focus. We just have to have people to go on the calls, and that's the most important thing we do, is serve the public. So we need to have the people to do that. Luckily, we've been able to stay full staff for now. So I can't complain lately. It's been pretty good. The other thing, I think we're in an aging city, and that creates more work for us. It seems like we have a lot of fires. We have a lot of significant medical calls. People wait longer than maybe they should for EMS or stuff like that. So that creates a demand on us too. I would assume we have a higher fire per capita rate than most cities. So fires take all of our resources. When we have one, that takes the whole shift out of service. We have to use everybody to put the fire out. So if, like the other night, we had a fire that we had, I think, 3 or 4 medical calls during the same time. So that created quite the demand on us, as we're trying to fight a fire and then take people away from the fire and send them to EMS calls and then bring them back. And then, just keeping that whole thing orchestrated. So staffing's probably our biggest piece of that puzzle. And then just keeping the funding where it needs to be for those sorts of things.
We had talked a lot about, like, maybe, how you guys work all as a family, and, like some of the challenges, but what are the most, like, the proudest moments you have working at the fire station with the guys there?
We have a very well-respected department in general. I walk into places and everybody knows them somehow or another, and all I hear is praise and good things about the folks, and that's something that makes me pretty proud. Is like I don't go anywhere and hear like, oh, those firefighters again or something like that. It's always good things. I would say as a group, they're really mature. They do a good job of, like, keeping, we don't get bogged down with negative things or that sort of thing too. Like, I think that goes to the team environment of just, we don't let that stuff bother us. But I think probably lately, we came together pretty good with the EMS vote. I think the whole department worked together to really do a lot of that stuff, and they stuck their neck out there for that. And I'm pretty proud of that moment too, of them having success with that.
The EMS thing was really surprising. That was something I guess I didn't know very much about. And, we did some work here kind of on that for some people and kind of helped out here and there. Can you explain how the EMS and the fire department, work together, or how that all works? Maybe, again, like broad stroke it just for people like me that just didn't know.
Yeah. So in Fort Dodge, this isn't the same everywhere, but for here, fire and EMS are the same. They're the same people. So you might have a firefighter on the ambulance today. His next shift, they're on the fire truck. So we run, it's called fire-based EMS, I guess would be the way to describe it. And everyone in our department is either working towards or is firefighter paramedic. So they do both.
Oh, wow.
And so, like we said, that gives us a little bit of flexibility in the fact that, like, if we need someone to cover this position or that position or something like that, they're interchangeable in those ways of, like, covering ambulance calls. So that way also too, that there are EMS providers on the fire engines. So I'm a paramedic too still. So we keep a lot of people at that level just because that's the service that we provide. So people wonder, like, oh, we sent just the ambulance or just the fire truck or why did the fire department and the ambulance come? And those are the same things, I guess would be the way to say that from a Fort Dodge perspective. That's not the same necessarily in all areas of, like, even our county. There's specific ambulance services as well that are just ambulances too. So it does get a little bit confusing.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I didn't realize. I'm from a small town. I'm from Humboldt. I always just figured an ambulance comes and it's from the hospital. Like, I guess that's just what I assumed, but that's changed over time in a lot of areas.
Yep.
Okay. All right. How has everything evolved then? We talked a little bit about how firefighting has evolved over time. With your experience with EMS, has that evolved over time with firefighting as well?
Yeah. EMS has really become what the majority of our workload is every day. We spend a lot of time doing, I'll say, non-emergent EMS as well. People call 911 for all kinds of things. And so we spend time just helping people get back up. They fall down, or we need, they might need, just need a ride to the hospital, but they use 911 for that. So we spend a lot of time doing those things now too, that we wouldn't have used to do that. So keeping up with EMS is, like I said, it's been quite a job with running all the calls every day, just keeping the things that we need, the staffing, I guess.
How about like community education for maybe firefighting and or EMS? What does that kind of look like?
We do both. We do more fire prevention than we do EMS. EMS, unfortunately, it takes a lot of resources. But there are places that are doing like community paramedicine is the term, or there's probably a newer term than that. Sorry, Terry. But there's where we go out and proactively, like, hey, we've been on you. We've come out for 3 or 4 911 calls. We notice the same things over and over. Can we help you with this? Meet them at their level versus waiting for them just to call, and we just handle the call every time and move on. Like, can we fix the problem instead? Same with fire prevention stuff. Like, can we get out and show you what we do and how to prevent those things, or what can cause you problems versus just reacting to the fire at the time. Here, unfortunately, we only have one fire marshal, and that's it. So we don't have a lot of personnel dedicated for that. But those are the things that we try to do. We spend, like last month was October. We spent most of the month out in the schools and the preschools and stuff, teaching the kids all the fire prevention things and going through the trucks and showing them things. And so that we do quite a bit of that.
I love it seems like there's a common thing coming up here is preventative maintenance, I guess you want to call it. Like,
Yep.
We check the fire trucks, make sure everything works on it, and we'll wash it and make it clean. You're going to do workouts in the morning. That way everybody's ready for it. We're going to train everyone to be an EMS person. That way, just in case there's a lot of just in case we're going to do this. We go on a lot of EMS calls to maybe like 1 or 2 different locations for the same thing. Now let's just go down to their level and do the preventative maintenance. How do we help you make sure that we can kind of make this smoother for everybody in the future? I think that's one of the coolest things about this. Like, I sat in on the last episode of Talk Fort Dodge that you were on. I listened to that, and that was one of my favorite things about it was you guys are always thinking ahead about what needs to get done. We
spend a lot of time in preparation. I think that's probably what would catch most people off guard. Like you said, we're not sitting around just, cooking food and, watching a movie or something.
That's what they show on TV.
Yeah, which would be great.
I mean, Chicago Fire Department, PD or whatever it is, that's what they're doing. They're always sitting around the table eating.
I think that's kind of a common misconception, I think. And if you ask our law enforcement friends, I'm sure they would say the opposite.
Well, they're eating they have donuts on there.
That's right. So. But we spend so much time preparing, and like you said, our job's very physical. So keeping physically fit, I mean, that's a high level for us that we have to be at, or we just can't do what we're supposed to do. And then also spending the afternoons training and being ready for any scenario and those sorts of things is building the basic skills so that you can't mess it up. We're almost what you would say almost close to like a pro football team or something, where we have to have everybody in their position. They have to know what they're supposed to do. They have, as it's an orchestrated thing, how it works, that it has to all just fall just right. And it doesn't always, but everybody knows how to recover and where we're supposed to be and how it's supposed to work.
I love that. Let's talk community support. So the EMS vote was earlier this year, but how important was the success of that vote or community support for what you guys do? Because it makes sense. Obviously, everybody we need to have a fire department, and it'd be nice if my house caught on fire that somebody would put it out, etc. But how important is the community support for all this?
That's how we survive. We're here to serve the public. That's our entire mission, essentially. So, without the public trusting us, having the support for us, we wouldn't be a department, I guess is the way to say it. So, we strive to do that in every call we go on, every time we go out in the public, is just to try to gain more of that trust and that having them have our back as well, if that makes sense. We have to have that.
Yeah.
People hand us their babies. They expect us to walk in their house when, what God knows what's going on. They want us to be able to go in and out and do things. And if they can't trust us to do stuff like that, then that doesn't work.
Oh, you brought up a good point. Literally people's lives are at stake here. So that's good to have that trust. One of the things I remember seeing about firefighting is the technology has changed. So I think about pizza delivery drivers 20, 30 years ago. You don't have a phone. You just got to kind of know the map, or you have somebody that, you know, get a map in your car or whatever. You don't have somebody like sitting shotgun with a giant map out, do you? You have a lot different technology.
There might be a couple left.
Let's talk a little bit about this technology though, because there was stuff that I was mind blown by.
Yeah, we're right now, we've just finished up essentially. We have what's called CAD, computer aided dispatching. So we're starting to get that in all of our apparatus. So every you'll see a little computer in the front passenger seat. That's, I'll say, the brain of the rig. That's how it communicates with dispatch. So we can see everything that dispatch is typing away, what all the notes. That's how they see the address. That's how they can map it. They can see all kinds of stuff from that data terminal. Mm-hmm. So we had been using an app on our phone before that. That worked pretty well. We were missing the interface with our dispatch center. So now we can hear all the things see all the things that they're hearing on the phone, and they can get that information to us in real time. So we don't have to talk over the radio back and forth 6 different times to understand what's happening. It's just right there in front of you. You can read it.
Oh, wow.
Same with the map to the call or any of that sort of stuff. And that puts the map has all of our fire hydrants are on there. So you can see all where the nearest hydrant is and that sort of, so it's all GIS interfaced. So we're working through more of that, the better, for just making those quick decisions. That's what we look for. You know, if the fire's 3 blocks away, you don't have a whole lot of time to think about it. So if it's all right in front of you on the computer, you can see and do real quick. As far as other technology, I mean, firefighting gear has come a long way, even in my few years of this. The fabrics that they're using and the science that they're putting into that. I mean, we can withstand quite a bit of heat and stuff where before, they weren't that good. So, it can be dangerous. You can get yourself way too far into things too, but that sort of stuff has come a long way. The fire trucks are amazing. I was thinking about this the other day. So we're about to receive a new tower ladder in March.
Okay.
And our current ladder is from 2004, which doesn't feel like it was that long ago, but it was 21 years ago. So you just looking at the differences in the features and things that the old ladder has compared to what the new trucks have, and the pump features and the diagnostic stuff and the mechanical stuff and the way they design things and just how it all works together nowadays compared to 20 years ago. I think it's going to be quite the difference in what we can do. Even the safety features and stuff like that. Firefighting wise too. Let me think. I think we also use computers a lot now, where we know maybe we did before, but our record management stuff, our training data, all we're becoming more and more data driven as a service in general. So tracking things and keeping everything straight, that's something that's really come a long ways. 20 years ago it was probably all paper basically.
Spreadsheet.
So, yeah. Nowadays it's all software based, and we're starting to see AI come into some of those things, and that's going to be the next frontier, I guess, probably, of how that's all going to come together.
Yeah, when I heard that the mapping now shows you this is where the fire hydrants would be if you're going mm-hmm. I'm sure that makes a difference as far as what route you're going to take there, what side you pull up on, or how things absolutely. Hook up. Wow, that's cool.
Because we carry about, it depends on the rig, but say there's 1,000 feet of our large diameter hose that we can put the main down on the street essentially. So that's very big and heavy, and you only get really one shot to make that right. So you want to have the least amount of distance for that as well, because it affects all your fire flow stuff as well. So getting the hydrant right is very important for us, just to make sure we have water, obviously, and then the less time we have to spend hooking the hydrant, that's quicker time we can spend putting out the fire. So it's a big piece of our initial response.
I love it. I do want to say again, congratulations, Fort Dodge 10 under 40. That's cool. Did you expect that, or?
No, I thought somebody set me up at first.
Oh no.
Well, I think somebody had to nominate you for that, don't they?
I'm sure there was someone.
And you haven't found out who that is yet?
I found out.
Oh, okay.
Oh, wow.
It took me a little while to figure it out, but I figured it out.
I mean, that's still got to be super cool, because even though you get nominated, people still have to vote on this thing, right? Yep. It's not that somebody's just throws a name in a hat and they're like, here you go, this is a person.
You have to have a good story.
Yeah, absolutely. What does that mean to you? Is it something you were kind of gunning for at all, or?
No, I think, to be honest, it'd be something I wouldn't have thought I would have been a person to be a candidate for. And it's humbling, I guess, to be able to be a part of that group of people. Like I said, I wouldn't have expected. I think of myself sometimes as just another person around, and you don't think about that could be a thing. So I'm honored to be a part of it.
I will say a lot of the people in that 10 under 40 are people that I would use one word to describe them, and it would be noble. In some sense, what they're doing is very noble, and what you do is very noble. Like, it takes something to be gutsy enough to go in and put out a fire, or to like every day plan for this type of thing. And then it takes another thing to be like, you have to prepare for it. And you were talking about, the technology advancements of like the suits are so much better now. We can withstand more heat, but it's you going in there and versus me. Like, I would sweat out like instantly, and you've trained for this type of thing. You're more used to it. You're more physically fit than I am, et cetera. And like, these are things that you actually have to take the time to do. And I'm glad that somebody, took the time to recognize you and your department, honestly, because I feel like this is just as much a reflection on the fire department as you.
I would say that as well. I mean, obviously I probably wouldn't have been considered if I wasn't the fire chief, and without them, I wouldn't, my organization is probably everything for that.
Yeah. So as we talked a little bit about the CTE stuff earlier, let's say you go into the schools, or you send somebody from the fire department or the EMS service like into the schools to talk to the children about what they can do. We were there for they were doing like fake job interview type things, and they were
fire department was there when Terry was there.
Yep, and they were grilling them on the questions and stuff like that.
It was a real interview. They really got to test them.
Let's say somebody from the school is listening to this, or some kid listens to this because they're like, I want to hear what Matt Price has to say. What would you tell them about, like, what would be the steps they should take to become a EMS or fire department? Maybe somebody that starting off on the volunteer fire department and going from there, or what advice would you give them?
I mean, I would suggest, that's the route a lot of at least our age folks took, is first find somebody that's in the service and talk to them. Find out if it's something that's for you. Reach out to our fire department. We have plenty of people that'd be more than willing to have you come ride along with them or see the fire station and walk you through it. We have essentially now, we require fire and EMS certifications. So going to like the community colleges or somewhere, work on your fire certification, work on your EMT. That's a big piece that you're going to do for us that we have to have. And I would say, like I said, we're looking for people that are good humans, is what I tell people. We'll hire people off the street. We don't require certifications anymore. So we're looking for somebody that's, like we said, a team player that has a servant attitude, that wants to go out and help people. And that's a hard worker. Obviously it takes a lot. Depends on the paramedic program, but it takes a couple years at least to start from no certifications to being a ground level firefighter paramedic. And then from there you can go on in your career. So it takes some discipline to be able to go through all the classes and still work full time and be up all night and do all the clinicals and ride time and hours. So just be ready for a little bit of work at the front end to be able to even just perform your job. And then like I would say too, is be ready to, like we talk about, get better every day, but you got to be ready to train and adapt and think about all the things that are going to change over time. So that's kind of the person that we're looking for. And like I said, though, if somebody's ever interested, reach out to your local department, find somebody that you can talk to. Like I said, come to Fort Dodge, we'll show you what we can. But I say too, if you live out in a community that's not this city, get on your local volunteer fire department and help out. Everybody's looking for volunteers that are willing to do things. That'd be a great start.
That's awesome. I love that. We had talked a little bit about the CTE program. Mm-hmm. We had done something like that. And I think we did a video for that. We helped the Fort Dodge School make a video for that. And one of the things I remember Leah Glasgow saying was like, the CTE program is such a great way to help kind of show people how this all works, so you don't get into the adult world and then have to do the whole thing where it's like, well, I have to work a full-time job just so I can pay to go to school, just so I can spend all night at school, just so I can wake up and go to the full-time job to support the schooling all over again. Like, it is kind of nice that they have that available to them at the school level to kind of test the waters.
Yeah.
Well, and when they get done from high school, they've already have some certifications.
Yep. That's what I was just going to say. And they've probably met and made connections with like the department of their, wherever they're going to head, but they've met people in that area. And so they've got connections now too, whether they stay around here or they, they decide to do this or that, they've at least got somebody that they can mentor through or figure something out with.
Absolutely. All right. So we're getting kind of close to the end here. Let's talk about the future. Everything's changed quite a bit in the last 20 years. I'm sure every time you could go into any part in history and just look back 20 years and be like, it's changed a lot. But let's go the next 10 years. How is it going to change in the next 10 years? And how is Fort Dodge going to adapt for those changes? I know we had talked, it was kind of like a challenge, with the state kind of cutting back some of the budgets for some of the cities. But how's Fort Dodge going to adapt?
I think one of the things that we see, I can see coming is more regionalization of like EMS units. Like right now for hazmat, we cover 9 counties around us. And I can see something like that eventually maybe coming for EMS, where I don't know how it's actually going to work, but like you might have, rather than in the county boundaries that we work in now, you might have EMS units crossing county boundaries, helping back each other up, doing things like that. So I could see that coming in the future as resources dwindle, we may need more people to travel longer distances for things. So I can see that coming. One of the big things for the future of our area is the EMS thing. So I can see us as that takes flight, I guess, we'll start working through adding the second fire station and adding staff through that. And that will help add another ambulance for our fire department and help staffing to help cover some of those calls. So I think that's going to be another big piece of the puzzle that something that we just haven't ever done here of having 2 stations and that many people working every day will be a whole new challenge. So that's something that we look forward to. I think like we said, the other thing is just finding ways to stay relevant, I guess, as technology changes, the different best practices in the service change, staying up on all of those things, staying well trained is something that I see us striving to be. So those are probably the big 3, I think, that we'll probably work towards. Fire coverage in general, I think, could also become something in the future. Volunteerism isn't what it used to be. So I can also see some sort of regionalization or like some sort of mutual aiding type thing with fire resources and throughout counties and areas and things to try to help cover things better than trying to get back to kind of how it was years ago.
That makes sense.
I'm curious, what is your prediction of how AI is going to affect fire and EMS? I'd love to hear your predictions.
On the ground level, I'll say especially firefighting, I'll compare it to as one of the trades. It's very hands-on type stuff. Unless robots come in, somebody has to still take the hose and go put the fire out. Same with EMS. We probably will see it still requires a person, but what I can see on the backside is like the report writing, the data analytics, all that sort of stuff is already starting to go that way. Like we're even having experimentation with we have to write a report after every EMS call, kind of like charting for nurses sort of thing or doctors. Well, they're starting to develop AI for that so that when we put in pertinent like procedures and things that we've done, it can basically write our chart for us. So there's that sort of stuff I can see coming. I'm using it already a little bit in just like document development stuff, rather than typing everything out and spending hours messing with, like trying to get it all just right. You can put chunks of things into any of the AI and have it come back out. So that it's a time saver too in like administrative stuff. And I can see like that just getting better and better and better. And as our service gets more data driven, right now in the fire service, we're going through we're getting rid of our report writing system for fires from the 70s, and they're bringing in a new cloud-based thing that we start on in January. And it's going to utilize AI too. So that's going to be another unknown. Where are we going with this type of thing of we're all going to have to adapt to a whole new report writing methodology of things that no one, we've all seen a little bit of, but no one really knows where it's going. So I think there's going to be a lot of that coming soon.
I love the way, AI crunches data. It's always just kind of fun because sometimes you can, like you said, you can go back to the 70s, punch all this data in there, and you never know, over the last 50 years, it might be like, we've noticed something like a pattern here that maybe somebody might not notice because it took 40, 50 years to set up that data. And who's going to flip through that much spreadsheet
I
and
even
paper
enjoy
stuff?
like right now it's budget season for the city. So like I've taken the last 3 budget years and put it in there and just have it analyze it just to see what it says, just for curiosity's sake. You know, it's just fun to be able to have something that powerful, to be able to in a few seconds you can have lots of answers or ideas, where before you'd have to get a room full of people,
Shuffle all kinds of
try to figure
papers.
that all out. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a fun tool. I mean, we talked about how technology's changing what you do. Maybe that's on a municipal or an organizational level, but how about like for a residential? Is technology changing anything on the residential side? Something I guess I might be thinking of is, let's say like home security systems now have the ability to like detect things and make automatic calls. Like, have you noticed that? Is that changing over time?
We do. I would say there's a lot more folks out there that have like home system security. I don't even know if it's a security system, but just cameras and sensors of different varieties and things. So like, yeah, we'll see every once in a while where we'll get like a smoke detector drop, and like it's from a automated service for a residential area. Like usually that used to be just a commercial thing that like businesses had, and now it's starting to get out into it's such an easy thing to get now, with the high-speed internet and all that stuff. It's easy to set up cameras and have those systems in your house.
Is it beneficial?
I think if you utilize it correctly, yeah. I mean, it's going to call, if a smoke detector can detect smoke or something like that, or carbon monoxide faster than you can, and get us called, that's going to make all the difference. And when the time really matters for us. So
Especially in the evening or during
Yep.
bedtime, because carbon monoxide, they may not wake up.
Yeah, or sometimes when like people are at work,
Yes.
they'll go off.
Nobody's there.
You don't even know, unless your neighbor notices something. It's got to be really bad for somebody to notice it, where the automated thing will see it, and so that could be a big game changer for that.
Maybe AI will blend itself into that somehow too. You never
Who
know.
knows?
You never
Who
know. You
knows?
never know.
It may bring out the little robot to put the fire out.
All right, I got a couple questions left for you. What's one thing you wish people knew about becoming a firefighter in general? Like, again, let's imagine some kids are listening to this. Let's imagine somebody that's never thought about firefighting. Kind of like this. This is the first time I've really sat down with somebody who's actual career firefighter, and kind of grilled them with questions. What's something that you would say, like, this is the misconception a lot of people think?
Oh, I would say it's probably very closely related to like what you would get in like a good sports team, or maybe the military or something like that, where it's a very group team environment. So when you think about, we do everything together, and that's a great thing for building relationships and getting to know people. I mean, you spend a third of your life with your coworkers, so that's a great like piece that people don't really pick up on, I guess, or a lot, is like they become your second family. That's huge. Having that. What other like things about the fire service? While you do see not so good things sometimes, I'll say, you probably see twice as many good things that you can interject yourself into or make a difference in. Like sometimes it's just as simple as like you go to a call and somebody, you notice that this thing needs picked up, or they need help with this, or what, however that is. You finish making somebody a sandwich or whatever, like you can make such a difference for people that a lot of times doesn't get captured. It's not on the Chicago fire part, or like we've had instances of, we go to a call and it's wintertime and they need to go to the hospital. We take them to the hospital. We finish shoveling their driveway for them and stuff like that. Like you can make such a difference for people, or how you handle things. Like, it might be not a great day for them, but how you treat them during that process. You're not like, we try to take care of them and what they need, try to be anticipatory of what they're going to need. So that's something that people see. Like there's always the gore and the action, and which is great if that's what you're into. But sometimes it's just the little stuff that you can get yourself into that is really rewarding. There's not a lot of times you're going to walk away from shift thinking, I don't know what I did. Did I do anything good today? Like that's pretty established when you leave. Like, you've done something for the fellow people in your community when you leave. And I think that's something a lot of people miss that. Like it's always usually on TV, it's the action and stuff. And that does happen. And some of us enjoy that part, but the real part is the other side.
Well, you really tell the whole story. and which is so important for anybody that's looking at going into this type of a career.
Yeah. And it's really, it's important like for you to have your family and stuff on board as well. Like, yes. I can't say enough. Like, my wife has been super supportive of me through the years, and she's been home by herself more times than I can count. You know, I used to work 2 days on, 4 days off. So she had our babies at home by herself for 2 days in a row and those sorts of things. So, you got to really have your family on board for that sort of stuff, or it gets hectic quickly if they're not ready for that. Especially when it's not always the greatest hours of the evening that you leave.
You don't get to choose.
No, it just happens when it happens. And you know, that's one of the things that goes part of the job, but you got to have that support too from folks around you.
That's a beautiful segue into this. What's a lesson that your career has taught you that, you know, maybe applies to your life? I mean, I think you kind of summed up a pretty good one there at the end, but
yeah, I mean, I would say that would be one thing is having support from your loved ones. Another thing that I've kind of made sort of my mantra throughout is making sure you're staying like disciplined and work through your resilience for things, because like you don't, I guess from my perspective, like I didn't end up in this place like accidentally, or I didn't end up in this job accidentally. And it takes a lot of goal setting and work and things. Like I can remember being in my graduate program, and we just had a baby, and I was still on shift, and I wondered what I was even doing, and you know, those sorts of things. So keeping yourself focused and remembering why you're doing what you're doing, have your purpose that you're trying to work through, have your ducks in a row, and keep your discipline on what you're supposed to do and where you're supposed to be. And I think that's another big thing that people get kind of muddled up. Life can just overwhelm you with things, and you just kind of have to, you're still floating and trying to keep your nose above water. But the more you can keep yourself organized and on a path, I think that's important.
That's awesome. It's beautiful. All right. So I usually ask everybody the same question to kind of end these. I'm going to switch this up just a second though, because we work at a digital marketing firm. Is marketing important to a fire station?
I would say, this is my take on it, I guess, as I was thinking about this is, every day that we go out in the public is a marketing opportunity for us.
Very good. Yes.
And like kind of tying back into all those things, I want everybody to have a 5-star interaction with the fire department. And that's our biggest, piece of our puzzle for like, that's our whole mission is public service. So when we look at that, I want interactions with people. I want people, when we leave, I want us to have solved their problem. That's really what, you know, we're the fire and EMS problem solvers. So, how else we can do that is mostly is our marketing thing. I mean, we dabble in the Facebook stuff. We dabble in, you know, any of the other little things, we get out and do stuff, but that's, I think, our marketing thing, because we're not selling anything really. We're just selling our help, I guess.
Well, you're selling the city too.
Yeah.
Because you are a big part of the city. So you are one of the things that get noticed the most. Fires always seem to be media generated, you know, stories, and how you handle them and take care of them plays a big part in marketing for the community and your fire department.
Yeah, even think about the EMS vote. That was, I mean, you needed some marketing for that. I mean, it's not like you needed it, but I'm not sure it would have been as successful had there been no marketing.
No, and that's something we've noticed, you know, we talked to, you know, it's not the most fun thing to, you know, it sounds like fire chief talk of funding and budgets and all that stuff, you know, but it's, if people aren't aware of how that impacts you and what's actually going on, and trying to be like, that was one of the biggest pieces of the vote that we tried to be as like transparent as possible. We're not trying to, you know, it's a tax, and we're not trying, this is what we're going to do. We're not trying to hide anything. That, I think that's, you know, people appreciate that sort of like straightforwardness about certain things. And that's what we tried to do with some of even our social media stuff, is just, this is what it is. Yes. We're not trying to sugarcoat or, you know, skew things one way or the other or anything like that. We're just, this is as best we can, as from what we know, trying to be as straightforward as possible with that.
Well, on the EMS side, part of the conversation was more of the impact, not only to you, but to your family members, you know, the areas that you have to drive, how it impacts the service within the city. All of those things were into that story.
Yeah, that was really a countywide thing. And I will say, like from our whole county EMS provider group, we really all came together for that. And I mean, that's why it was, I think, as successful as it was everybody was pushing essentially the same narrative. Mm-hmm. Everyone was supportive of it.
Had the same storyline.
Yeah, everybody was on the same page, and that's because it wasn't complicated. Mm-hmm. I mean, we kept it simple and made it something easy to understand, because I think that's what's actually going to fix it. So
I'm gonna have to clip just a second of this out of here, because you said if people don't know. Like, sometimes marketing is you just have to let people know something. It's not like you're trying to sell them anything.
No.
If they just don't know, they don't know,
yes.
you know, and sometimes you just need to let people know, and that's the end of it.
Yep. Public information, I guess, is huge for us. I mean, that's, you know, even down to the, you know, don't drive down this street because this is happening today, or what, you know, any of those sorts of things of like, or, hey, it's fire prevention month. This is, you know, you should, you know, don't plug 9 space heaters into your outlet, you know, like just basic things,
well,
yeah.
You know, so that just getting the information out there, I think sometimes, and keeping that platform, you know, built, I guess, is important.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say I don't live in Fort Dodge, so I don't have a whole lot of interaction with the fire department, but the first Buster's Bash we had the fire department here.
You were there.
And they pulled up there, and they're waving to the kids and doing the whole thing, you know, and I went over there and I was like, hey guys, you know, what's up? And then they got a fire call, you know, and I'm just having fun chatting with them. They're kind of giving the cops a little guff because they were at the other end of the block. I thought that was so funny, but
we have a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my favorite things, they go out on a fire call, they come back before the event is over, and they park, and they come back for the rest of the event. Yeah. They could have just went back to the fire station.
We wouldn't have known any different.
No, they came back and pulled in, and they were just as happy as they were before they left, which I think was like the coolest thing ever. I'm just like, man, if I had to run into a burning building or like provide medical service to somebody, I'd come back and just be like, woo, like, all right, I'm just gonna put my feet up for a little bit, you know, like, and they were just as happy to be there. I think that was one of the coolest things about the fire department here in town.
And that's what I think we strive for, that. Like, we want to make it as best interaction as we can every time we're out and about. And yeah, there is times when that needs to happen, and they build that in for themselves too. You know, there's, you know, if they had a really bad call or something, they're going to go back and decompress from that, and because they could have to take another call immediately, so they need to be able to like work through some of those things. And sometimes if it's just a fire alarm or something, they're just gonna move, you know, they do that 3 times a day, and they're gonna go, you know, it's not as big of a deal to them because they work through that stuff every day of the week. Absolutely.
All right, last question. Can you name a time in your life where marketing impacted you and you possibly didn't know it until after it was all over with? You know, obviously, once again, digital marketing firm here, but you know, did you think marketing was going to be important at the fire station level, or is it you're driving down the road, I saw a billboard and I had to have this item, or was it just somebody let you know that something was available, and had you not known it, you wouldn't have even tried it in the first place?
I mean, I think we've all probably had instances where we were suckered in by something or another.
yeah, for sure.
You know, which is great for you. I mean, it means the marketers did their job. I'm trying to think, man. What would have?
I will say online reviews are probably the best defense against the quote unquote being suckered in, because now there's information's everywhere.
Yeah.
So
almost the opposite.
Yeah. Like it almost works the opposite.
You can't do that. I would say, especially from like my perspective, I didn't realize as much, and it's something you don't notice, like as you're a shift level firefighter or something, like you just don't pay attention to that sort of stuff. But as I've gone up, like how much it does impact things, and even just like you see different initiatives go out, and, you know, whether it's through the city or county or different things, and that get pushed, or like how successful things are. And like, you start to realize like marketing's a big piece for a lot of that stuff, because if you don't have the correct message and the correct information or any of that sort of stuff, people get reviews, people get skewed really fast, and they're like, oh, we're shut off to that, you know, immediately. So that, I think, is probably my biggest impact, just seeing how quickly that can change things.
Well, I do want to say this episode has been tons of fun. Before we get to Cheryl's part, I do want to let everybody know, Talk Fort Dodge, episode 33, you were on. It was this last April, so it's April of 2025.
But it's timeless.
Yeah, if you guys want a good supplement to this, if you listen to this and you're like, I need more Matt Price in my life, go back and listen to that one. They asked a different set of questions. I think it's really kind of fun because those two actually live here in Fort Dodge. So they had a different set of questions to ask you about this. I thought it was really good. So make sure you go back and check that out. I do also want to say congratulations again.
Yes.
10 under 40.
Very big honor.
Amazing.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
You deserved it.
All
Thank
right.
you. Well, we have Buster here. Buster the Bulldog, because we are bulldogs in getting people digitally online. And we like to have you rub Buster's head for good luck. His head keeps getting shinier and shinier, and we want all the best for you.
Thank you.
You bet.
Thank
you.
This podcast is produced by Spin Market and Digital. Located in Fort Dodge, Iowa, Spin Market's highly skilled team can help you increase your market by updating your website, improving SEO, designing advertisements, and producing podcasts that will grab the attention of your market. Contact Spin Market today for all your digital marketing needs at digitalagent@spinmarket.com or call us at 515-302-8026. And to learn more, visit our website at www.spinmarket.com. That's digitalagent@spinmarket.com or 515-302-8026. Or visit our website at www.spinmarket.com.